Fascination lies in the fact that part of the moon seems to be permanently hidden away from us. This is because it is always in synchronous rotation with our planet, which means that the rate at which it rotates around its axis is the same rate at which it goes around the Earth. This also means that we will always look at one side of the moon. The compelling mystery of the dark side of the moon has been associated with the occult for millennia. Apart from its enigmatic beauty, the moon permeates our daily lives on Earth in an important way. The tides on Earth are mostly generated by the gradient in intensity of the moon's gravitational pull from one side of Earth to the other, the tidal forces. This forms two tidal bulges on Earth, which are most clearly seen in elevated sea level as ocean tides. Because Earth spins about 27 times faster than the moon moves around it, the bulges are dragged along with Earth's surface faster than the moon moves, rotating around Earth once a day as it spins on its axis. The ocean tides are magnified by other effects: frictional coupling of water to Earth's rotation through the ocean floors, the inertia of water's movement, ocean basins that get shallower near land, and oscillations between different ocean basins. The gravitational attraction of the Sun on Earth's ocean is almost half that of the Moon, and their gravitational interplay is responsible for spring and neap tides. In the past 400 years or so, the science as we know began to take root in Europe. Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei used the newly discovered optical instrument, the telescope, to look at the moon. He observed large craters and recorded them in his observing logbook. The surface of the moon is littered with craters big and small. These were thought to be water bodies at first and named Maria, or the seas. It was later discovered that these craters were created by the forceful impact of multiple asteroids and comets crashing onto this surface. These events occurred in large numbers because the moon does not have an atmosphere to prevent or mitigate such collisions. Each large impact would create dramatic geological disturbances resulting in volcanic activity. The situation is not dissimilar to that which caused the extinction of dinosaurs from the Earth and gave rise to the Deccan volcanism. In the case of the moon, the hot molten lava flows and cools to form Maria seas of lava. In India, the famous Lonar crater is an excellent example of what an asteroid crashing down can do. It is so large, it can be seen from space. Could there also be water on the moon? If so, is the moon habitable? Humans have always had an unquenchable thirst to conquer the moon in the hope that it could be colonized. With the advent of rocket technology in the 1950s and 60s, the United States and USSR locked themselves into a space race, a race that would culminate at the moon. The USA, under the guidance of Werner von Braun, launched the Apollo missions and reached the moon in July 1969, and Commander Neil Armstrong became the first man to set foot on lunar soil. His words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," are now synonymous with the spirit of exploration and discovery. also has its own moon exploration program. On 27th October 2008, the Indian Space Research Organization launched Chandrayaan-1, a lunar orbiter to study several aspects of the moon's surface. The spacecraft was carried aloft by the extended version of the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle (PSLV), which is the workhorse rocket of the ISRO. It became the first spacecraft to confirm the presence of water on the moon. Most interestingly, heavier elements such as sulfur were also observed. The spacecraft also carried with it a small impact probe that sent back several beautiful pictures of the lunar surface before crashing on the moon. India returned to the moon with the Chandrayaan-2 spacecraft carried aloft by the GSLV Mark III on 14th of July 2019. Chandrayaan-2, unlike Chandrayaan-1, has a lander Vikram with a rover Pragyan apart from the orbiter. And we have liftoff. As the rocket soars higher and higher, the first two stages separate at different intervals. The third stage, which has the cryogenic engine, ignites. Finally, after a few minutes, it shuts off and Chandrayaan-2 separates, marking an important milestone in the historic mission. She gains altitude, the solar panels are deployed and increases its orbit in 5 stages. Chandrayaan-2 revolves around the Earth 5 times to gain velocity. Then, at one point, at the end of the 5th orbit, which is after a week, Chandrayaan-2 joins the highway to the moon, or what is known as the lunar transfer trajectory. After a few days, it executes the crucial entry into the lunar orbit, which is known as the lunar orbit insertion. Meanwhile, the orbiter will go around the moon in a 100 by 100 kilometer orbit and keep a constant eye on the moon and the lander. Vikram is now scanning the landing site. As Vikram and Pragyan prepare for the crucial descent to the moon, ISRO scientists are keeping a tense watch glued to their computers in the Mission Operations Control Center at Bangalore. Post-separation from the orbiter, Vikram with Pragyan executes some complex maneuvers before starting the nail-biting descent called 15 minutes of terror. When all was go for landing, Vikram initiates deboosting procedures. It is the first moon mission in the world to touch down on the South Pole region of the moon with a rover. Hold your breath and keep your fingers crossed. But then what happened? If all had gone well, Vikram would have pulled off a soft landing on the moon around 2 AM on September 7th with Pragyan. It had started scanning the touchdown zone. The primary touchdown zone was between two craters, Mancinus and Symbolius, located 350 kilometers north of South Aitken Basin Rim. It would have been a day of celebration all India, as Vikram was heading towards the touchdown zone at 1:51 a.m. 2 kilometers above the lunar surface, it lost communication with the Earth. A mood of disappointment descended in the control room, with the ISRO team trying to figure out what happened. Later, Vikram lander and debris was spotted in images taken on November 11 by NASA. What would Vikram have done if it had soft landed successfully? It would have started clicking images and say hi to the orbiter and ground stations. Then after 4 hours, Pragyan would have rolled out from Vikram and the scientific experiments would have been initiated. There are 14 instruments, out of which are 13 India-made and 1 from NASA. 8 from orbiter, 3 from lander and 2 of the rover. The mission span of Vikram and Pragyan is 1 lunar day, which is equivalent to 14 Earth days. The life of orbiter, which was initially just a year, has been stretched to 7 years because of the precise launch and perfect mission management. Pragyan, equipped with solar power, would have moved up to 500 meters. The main aim of the mission was to hunt for water. Data would have been transferred from the rover to the lander and then onto the orbiter and to the ground stations. From the lander, signals would have also been sent directly to the ground stations. The other scientific goal is to provide a deeper insight into the beginning of the solar system. Scientists will be able to have a If the touchdown had been successful, the Indian tricolour and the Ashok Chakra would have been on the moon. The rover would have probed the lunar surface. Both the lander and rover would have also focused on the moon's mineralogical, topographical and various other facets of the moon. The ultimate goal of the mission is to explore the possibility of establishing a human settlement on the moon. If the mission had been pulled off, India would have joined the select 3-member countries, the US, Russia and China, of soft landing on the moon. India would have become the fourth country. The mission will benefit not only those in India but people all over the world. When astronauts fly to orbit, it is a known fact that their spinal column extends by about 2 inches. This is because the effect of gravity is less as we go further from the Earth's surface. If we take this point into consideration, we can safely assume that human species on Moon would be considerably taller. It is not the Earth alone that has a natural satellite. Gas giant Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune also have not one but many moons. They vary in size and shape, while planet Mars has 2 small moons, Phobos and Deimos, which are irregular shaped rocky bodies. Jupiter has 63